This week, the Working Tools podcast is on the road at the Conference of Grandmasters of North America, being held right here in Seattle, Washington. So our format's a little different. We're going to have a series of short interviews with the attendees. We hope you enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
You're live.
Well, we're being recorded anyway.
No, it's
So we are sitting with Right Worshipful Brother Chris Haynes, who is the Junior Grand Warden of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of Washington.
I'm so excited to be here with you guys, with two of my favorite brothers.
Oh, well, thank you.
one of them at least, right?
We won't say which is which.
Easily, David.
So have you been here before to the Grandmasters?
I have not been here before. This is my first time. I'm very excited about it, getting to meet brothers from all over the country. It's been a lot of fun. And also this is my hometown. So to be able to sort of be an ambassador, if you will, has been a lot of fun.
Right, because you're actually a Seattleite even. It's not like you're from...
Oh, I live 20 minutes from here. It's fantastic.
Cool.
So you went on some tours yesterday or the day before, and you had the Western Conference. What came out of the Western Conference that you think you...
Well,
you said you presented.
I did. Yeah, the Western Conference was really great because it created a regional focus of what other Grand Lodges in the Western region are dealing with. And I was asked to present real estate and Freemasonry. And a little something I know about.
A little bit.
But, you know, I teach classes that are hours long and try to compress it into 15 minutes at a 36,000-foot level.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge.
Yeah.
But it was well received, and there was a lot of recognition that many Grand Lodges are all dealing with the same issues of real estate affecting their buildings and affecting Freemasonry in their states.
Yeah, awesome. And just like with all other issues of Freemasonry, we're all dealing with the same issues too. That's right. It's just, it's not just about buildings. It's about all aspects of Freemasonry. This is kind of what that conference is about, to try and come together and talk about those things too. Right?
And that's really my main goal today, is just to, and throughout the weekend, is just to kind of listen to other people that are also trying to resolve issues in their own Grand Lodges and have some successes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us. I know you got to get into the sessions, but really appreciate it. So glad to see you.
Good to talk to you as always.
Great talking with both of you. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. We're here again at the Conference of Grandmasters, and we snagged our fellow brother here, Nico, from District 13. So, and you could introduce yourself, please.
Nico Aldahondo, St. Andrew's Lodge number 35 in Renton, Washington.
Past master.
Past master.
Yes.
Forgot about that.
Little small thing. So before we even get started, there's something cool that you did at your installation about your apron. Would you share that with the audience? I think it's really cool.
Oh, yeah, it's the reason that my fiance thinks I don't like fancy aprons. So what ended up happening at my outstallation is one thing I've always believed the craft lacks when it comes to attaining different titles is remembering that we're always on the level. And one thing I'd learned from Dave, actually my year as master, is, hey, we can actually wear the apron that we were initiated with. And he wore it to an installation or something like that. And I was like, your apron's falling apart. What is wrong with you? Why would you take it out? And it was something I had always thought about after getting my apron. It was something that we were supposed to wear, but I'd never seen anyone wear it. And so I realized all the way up to this point is I have put no work in as a Mason with my apron. And so for my outstallation, I requested to get my apron that has never been out of the tube. And I was going to wear that as my past master's apron to show that, for one, I'm out of the East. I'm back on the level with the rest of the craft. Fancy apron doesn't make me anything else.
Yeah.
And to go put in work with my original apron.
Yeah. I'm curious, Matt, did you wear your white apron around when you were traveling and stuff, or did you leave it in the tube?
I wear it sporadically at best.
Okay.
I would say I wore it more once I first got it, and over time it's gotten lesser and less because whatever, I've got a past master's apron now and I wear the one I feel is appropriate, but I like to wear it to like initiations. I used to wear it to initiations more just to,
that's good.
Just to
That'd be an interesting effect. See everyone in.
Well, that's what I know. Verity, they do at least a third degree. They kind of request everybody to be all in white, even the officers and everybody's all in white.
Really?
Aprons. Yeah. I think it's a cool effect. It's a very cool effect. At first, I wasn't prepared for it, and so when we came in there, and they said, "Oh, white apron," so I was like, "Wait a minute, I earned this apron. I get to wear it." And then I went, "Okay, David, calm down." And yeah, it is a really cool effect. It's really cool.
There's actually, along the same lines, years ago I proposed introducing a resolution to, because currently if you're a past district deputy, you retain the title of very worshipful or whatever. I was thinking about introducing a resolution to eliminate that, so you would have the title while you were serving in the office, but then afterwards you would relinquish it and return to being brother. I considered worshipful brother being different because you get a vote at Grand Lodge if you're a worshipful brother, so it's slightly different, but I talked to a couple people about that, and specifically one Grand Lodge officer at the time who told me, "Yeah, that's never going to pass. I don't know what you're thinking." So it was, but I still think it's not a bad idea, honestly.
Yeah, I wore my white apron right away because I knew I was in the officer line, basically the night of installation, and so they had said, "When you got your apron, it's yours to wear through your Masonic journey," and then they took it away from me. I was like, "Wait a minute, I thought this was mine." And then as I went up the line, I started asking questions. I said, "Well, why are we taking this away from him?" "Well, because he may not come back, and we need to write the dates in there." Well, I got through Master Mason. They still didn't write the dates in there. But I thought, well, I was already in the line, and assuming that I don't screw up, I'm going to be master in the next 3 or 4 years, so I'm never going to get to wear this white apron again. So I wore it traveling all the time, and people would say, "Oh, that's cool. Why? That's a good idea." And you had mentioned that the one was at my installation. I wore one that was kind of tattered and falling apart, and actually that was my wife's grandfather's white apron that wasn't buried with him. When I was installed as master 11 years ago, her dad, his grandfather, presented it. I guess it was her great grandfather. They presented it to me as I was going in the east, so it was really kind of cool. Yeah. And a little picture with him with it on, and so I've kept that in the office. And I thought. And I think what prompted me was that I had heard that you were going to do that. I think, or maybe I'm just.
I think I call you a lot. I probably told you.
And so I thought this will be a cool opportunity to pay tribute to my wife and to her family and those that kind of got me involved, and to go back to our origins. And I remember asking Al Jorgensen, who was my mentor, and I said, "Can I wear my white apron?" I was thinking about wearing it the whole year, and then I realized how tattered it was. I couldn't do that. And he goes, "You're the master. You could do whatever you want."
I don't know. I think on the topic of lodges taking the apron away after you're initiated, you just made me think about this. This is the first chance of responsibility that you can give to a Mason, and the first thing you do is say, "Hold up, we don't think you're responsible enough to actually hold this and commit to your obligation and continue." That's an interesting topic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think our lodge we give it. Our lodge we give it to the guy, and then we tell him to bring it back for his next degree, so that he can wear the same one for all 3 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do as well, but he doesn't always remember. But we try to remember. We try to remind him. Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, thank you very much for popping on real quick and having a quick chat. And
awesome.
This is if you so you've kind of floated around. I guess we could extend this a little bit. You kind of floated around. Did you get into the first general session? Were you in the first general session opening?
I was in the first general session opening. I left a little bit towards the end to go look around and stand up for a little bit, but it was interesting. I came to see what it was like to meet a lot of people.
This is your first one? Yeah.
Yeah, first time. Only the biggest thing I've been to is Grand Communication for Washington, which I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I did not expect this many people to come out. It's kind of mind-boggling to see people from all around the world that flew out here, and it makes me think, why does Washington, in general, why do we not have more of a show when we live 20, 30 minutes down the road? You got these people that have traveled from around the world. But yeah, I think we should be better travelers.
For sure. There is some kind of an international conference that happens. I don't know if it's every 3 years or 5 years.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I know it exists.
Come on, Matt. You should know. You know all the facts and figures. No. Well, he's got the power of the internet in his hands. But
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I know it was in San Francisco like 4 years ago. I think it was pre-COVID. It was in San Francisco. And
Yep.
I should have gone. I knew I should have gone because it was so close. And that would have been really cool to go. But there's things like this that happen. I assume they have other, like I know that there's a Western conference that happens like on Friday before the events really start here. And then there's also like a Central conference and an Eastern conference. And so each area, or each geographical area of the North America gets together and talks about the issues that are relevant to them. And that was fun. 9 years ago when they had it in Vancouver, when they had this in Vancouver, I was able to go up and be part of that. It was really fun to rub shoulders and, you know, ask questions. And I was a relatively new Mason still then, 5-6 years. And so I was still asking a lot of questions. I guess I'm still asking a lot of questions, but
I don't think you've stopped asking questions.
Nope.
one of the highlights was we were going up the escalator, and I was just peppering people. It was Al and Bill Miller and all these people. And Bill Miller, you know, Bill Miller has a straight face. He just do not want to play poker with him. He turns to me and says, "You ask a lot of questions." I said, "Well, thank you."
I'll assume that's a compliment.
So that's good. He said, yeah, that's good.
That's a good thing for Masons to ask questions. If we're not asking questions, we're not getting anywhere meaningful.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Exactly. Trying to find that. So I know there's some really cool stuff happening, some of the other sessions that are happening in the future, and I'm looking forward to those and look forward to grabbing some other guys and getting them to answer some tough questions about topics of Freemasonry.
Oh, you got one more?
Sure.
Tough question. Go for it.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't see. I thought I was registered, but I guess I'm not actually registered. So I need to get registered and have a book. But
I was looking at the I guess this is kind of off topic now.
No, whatever.
on the pamphlet, I mean, the only things that you have to have a ticket for are just all the paid events, which
Right.
just isn't bad. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'd point him out. That one, he doesn't have a lanyard.
No, there's one. I've been looking for him. There's one specific person that has to register us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Clint. Clint, I know you're not watching this, but I talked to Clint, and he said, "Yeah, I got you signed up." And I assumed everything was kosher, but I guess not. So whatever. I got a copy of it, and our compatriot here, Matt, has a copy of the pamphlet. So we'll figure out some cool topics. I know there's some things that are a little bit controversial in discussion, so we'll see. I don't know if we can sneak in and get any recordings of those or not, but maybe we can get the speakers on to talk about it. So. Well, anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate you hanging out with us for a few minutes.
All right. Well, thank you
All
guys.
Right. We'll be back
Good luck.
and have some more conversations with some other guys. Bye now.
A hater, if you will.
And this is a guy, if anybody knows how to use a mic.
My wife says that's the most dangerous place on the planet is between me and a microphone.
Well, welcome back to the Conference of Grandmasters. We've got another special guest. Would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Right Worshipful Roger Nelson. I am Senior Grand Warden for the Grand Lodge of Washington. And a fan of this podcast. I only say that so I don't end up on the editing room floor.
So I assume this is not the first time you've been to this event?
This is my second time.
Second? Where was last year? I can't even remember.
Crystal City, which Washington, D.C. for all intents
Okay.
and purposes.
Nice.
Marvelous.
A little better weather here, maybe?
No. But at least I'm used to it.
From where we're sitting now, it's all the same.
Yeah,
so
right.
It doesn't matter too much.
True. That's for those of you who don't know, Reverend Rogers from the opposite side of the state, the much
For
more.
the past 25 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fourth generation Pierce County. And 25 years ago, I moved to Spokane to work for a couple of radio stations for what I thought would be a couple of years. And I met a girl. And I've been there ever since.
Nice.
So you're back. Are you? What is it you enjoy about coming back? I was going to ask why you're here, but it's I guess
To the Conference of Grandmasters. So many different camera angles on the same subject and issues that face Freemasonry today. As you probably saw in the presentation from the brother from Wisconsin, their initiatives in reclaiming the narrative are very much like we're doing in the Grand Lodge of Washington, but they're approaching it a little bit differently. In addition, for instance, they're not doing any broadcast in traditional television or radio, but they are doing over-the-top streaming television. They're doing Facebook and Instagram, if you will, but they're also doing some targeted display. And the interest in Freemasonry, as we've all seen, it's growing more and more, and probably more than we've seen since the end of World War II. And so how are we going to respond?
Right. And I know they have a really amazing seeker follow-up program in Wisconsin. They use, I think it's HubSpot as their CRM, and they've got regional guys that do all the follow-up, and it's just a machine.
And that really is the key. I mean, throughout North America, that has been the problem. Over 80% of the men that reach out, nobody's following up with them.
Yeah.
And in the Grand Lodge of Washington, I think that's singularly the most important advancement we've made in the past year is, aside from, don't call these guys, text them, in addition to that is making sure that district level we've got somebody that's managing prospect managers, and in each lodge a prospect manager. It's not the master, it's not the secretary, it's the newest master mason that's still on fire.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And as we heard from Zane's message this morning in the opening speech, that it's not just about membership, it's not just about those, but it's retention and what the lodge culture is like. Those things are so important as well to keep that fire burning, continue to keep it going.
We can't have Masons going out the back door as fast as they're coming in the front.
Yeah.
And very worshipful Zane and his presentation that he's done for a couple of years now with Ken Lane on the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I really do believe that they are 100% correct in saying we should not be shoehorning Masons into their nearest lodge. We should be making sure that they're going to the lodges that offer what they are looking for. Maybe it is just social. Maybe they're only interested in pancake breakfasts.
And maybe that's the way it is this year. But in 2 or 3 years or 5 years, as they grow as a man, as a Mason, they might discover. I would admit that was kind of more social guy. I didn't know what Masonry should be for me, and my lodge was just that's what I became. And now, 15 years later, I'm leaning a little more on that. Oh, I like to know this stuff. What's going on here? What smells work best in which degrees? Those kind of things. So.
If you get the opportunity, if you see him walk by, grab him with both hands and duct tape him down. Most worshipful Akram Elias, past Grand Master of Washington, D.C., and he was the Prestonian lecturer last year.
Yeah, okay.
And he talks about the focal point that's coming up in July of 26, which will be greater than we've had in probably over a century. The 250th anniversary, we will have more young men interested in Freemasonry than we've. But are we going to be ready?
Yeah.
Are we going to be ready?
Right.
Do you feel ready?
Yeah. Well,
as a lodge, as a Grand Lodge.
Well, 2026 is going to be a big year. Especially for you, right?
I'll actually.
Or will you'll be just finishing? I guess.
I'll be a month. I'll be a has-been for a month at that point.
Sure, but you'll get half of the year, half of the 26.
Sure.
So.
It's a week. I don't think there's been anybody on the Grand Lodge the past few years that really considers it, quote unquote, my year or his year.
Sure. Yeah.
Which, it's nice not to come into scorched earth every 12 months, right?
We were talking to actually Chris Haynes earlier, and he was saying, not necessarily on this, but in another conversation, he was saying that you're continuing to focus on the 6 supports, and of course, I'm a little bit, little bit biased to those.
You should be very proud of it.
But it's really neat to hear that it's happening. And at least, if nothing else, at least there's a focus.
Well, true, and I think it's a disservice. This is not going to be popular with some of my brethren, but I think it's a disservice to ask someone, so what are you going to, asking someone that's making themselves available for the Grand South, so what are you going to focus on as Grand Master? Well, that presumes that he's going to know what's going to happen the next 3 years.
Right.
And you have to be able to adapt. So what didn't get attended to? Which of those supports got the strongest attention? And so hopefully with those 6, they'll at least have a blueprint for at least 1 or 2 of them.
And if you just go through them and rinse and repeat.
Absolutely.
Rinse and repeat.
Advance. That's your dance.
You just spend most of the year undoing what happened the previous year.
I see why they pay you so much, is to put up with his sarcasm. You two do a wonderful job for the craft, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, we're unfortunately we're not joined by our other host, Steve Chung, and we may have a new guy coming on. So if you watch the last two shows, actually, I guess it'll be the next two shows. Craig is joining us, and so there's a good chance that Craig may be our new host, but I said it on air now. So. But no, Steve Chung is not able to join us this weekend. But actually, he was one of the three original founders, and so we have to give credit to Steve. I came in about 2 months into it, so I'm almost a founder. It's been a fun 6 years. It's hard to believe it's been almost 6 years. Yeah, it's our 6th season. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun just getting to talk to different Masons and
exactly
different people about different topics. And
exactly.
Read books that I otherwise might not have read or might not have read so critically, knowing that we have to. Now I'm talking about why podcasting is cool.
There are so many great contemporary books on Masonry.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, not by conspiracy theorists and the wackadoodles.
Yeah. And knowing that we're going to have some accountability, that someone is going to ask me questions about it, and that we're going to have a discussion that other people may or may not listen to, really makes you concentrate on what you're reading, and
that's why you guys only do a chapter at a time more often than not, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're doing. We're doing a deep dive on the Freemasons for Dummies. So talk about contemporary works. It's,
he's a wonderful Christopher's.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so it's been. It's funny. We all have said now. I think that we tell people to read it, but we've never read it ourselves.
Oh.
And so
I read it years and years ago.
Okay. Sorry.
I had my first edition one.
And so going through it, though, and really reading and studying and talking about it, it's an amazing book. Lots to glean from.
What is the book that you recommend to men first who are interested in Freemasonry?
I try generally, I've mentioned Freemasons for Dummies before. I've tried generally to get men not to look into it too much before they join, like before they're coming up to your initiation or your Master Mason degree or whatever. My personal opinion is I would rather have them come in with a fresh set of eyes without preconceived notions.
Shock and awe moment.
Exactly. That's generally what I tell people, is not to read too much. Obviously they know the guys, they know some of this stuff, but it's.
I'd have to answer the same. If anything, would probably be Freemasons for Dummies, but we'll ask you. What book do you recommend?
Darn! I was hoping you would notice that I flipped the tables on you and he'd become the interviewer. It really kind of depends on the person.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's a pilgrim's path.
Yeah.
That still holds up so very well. Plus, it was by someone that had no exposure to Freemasonry and answers virtually any question someone might have. Yeah. Granted, it's not as contemporary as I would like. And then if they tend to be a little more on the esoteric path, I explain to them that, and this is just my own interpretation, is that Masonry is a trailhead. And from there are so many beautiful paths of enlightenment.
Yeah.
And if they agree with me and say that that's something they're interested in, more often than not, I'll lead them to Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages, which is not meant to be read, cover to cover. It's like, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. You open it up to the page you're supposed to have that day.
Right. And this is in no way comparison, but honestly, Freemasons for Dummies is a little bit that way. He even says that. You don't have to read it chapter to chapter or cover to cover. You can just flip open to the section you want to read about that day and learn about it and close it and come back to it. And so it's interesting to see how that's become a neat study manual. Yeah,
he does a good job of talking a lot about Masonry and conveying good information about it without giving too much away and without having to wander into topics that might not be appropriate for non-Masons or they might not care about, frankly, but also might not be appropriate to discuss with them. So.
I kind of twisted the guy's arms to read this one. When I was master 11 years ago the first time, my wife wanted to kind of be involved. We had young kids, and so she said, what can I do? And I said, well, we could, maybe we could do a book study. And so she picked Freemasons for Dummies. And so she was teaching the ladies while we were in the lodge room. She was teaching the ladies, or not, I shouldn't say teaching, they were learning together. They'd read a chapter and then come back and talk about it the next month. And so I'd get questions from the guys in the lodge saying, what did your wife teach you, my wife? What do you mean? Well, my wife's asking me questions I don't know the answers to. I said, well, maybe you should read the book.
Oh, that's funny.
It
Sometimes from without, sometimes from within. Sounds hermetic to me.
Yeah. And then at the next Lodge Leadership Retreat, they asked her to come and teach the ladies program how to develop and teach a book study program. So she was so nervous because she's not a public speaker really at all. But she did a really amazing job. And I was excited because the first time I went to Lodge Leadership Retreat as a new Mason, the whole weekend was, table centers and how to do this and how to do installations. And she kind of sheepishly stood up at the end of the class. And they said, anybody have any questions? Yeah, my husband's going to be master next year. What am I supposed to do? And Emily, Lynn, we'll help you.
freezes.
We'll help you. What does that mean? What does that mean? Yeah. So she kind of built her own path and figured out what to do and how to do it, and helped those that she could. And yeah, it was great.
There you go. Well, I think you have a session here 5 minutes ago.
That's a very polite way of getting me to leave the room. Again, I really appreciate the work you guys do.
Thank you so much.
Best to you.
It's great to have
Thank
you,
you.
Roger. Thank you very much.